Hey guys, Greg here, Bone Tactical, here with a good friend of mine, Yav, from Zahal.org, Zahal.org. He's got a pretty cool site. Go over and check it out if you haven't. He is very knowledgeable on arms, tactics, weapons, weaponology, all that kind of stuff. You guys know I don't have a lot of guests on the channel, and when I do, I really feel like I like to bring only the best knowledge and really, positive environment, learning environment, all that type stuff. We're here in the Czech Republic. We are participating in a, well, actually, Yav's basically putting it on, part of the team that's putting it on. But I was nice enough to get invited to come out here. It was an amazing thing for me. Yav was very kind to invite me out here and participate, and having a great time, learning a lot of new stuff, learning the Israeli technique. But what we're going to discuss right now is I want his opinion on open carry, because you know my opinion on open carry. I think that open carry is I think there's a lot that people don't tell you about open carry, and when I see people open carrying, I think, to me, the first thing that pops in mind is like, wow, this guy's fill in the blank. I don't have a positive connotation to somebody's skill set or mindset when I see someone open carrying. I think maybe if you're like trying to be like a Second Amendment in the US, like crusader, like trying to promote like hey, we should all have guns, maybe, but I don't even know if that works. I think it could actually have like a negative effect because people are scared seeing the gun. And then, I'll get more into my opinion, but what I really want to kind of bring to the table is a difference of opinion and kind of a subject matter expert. Being an Israeli and having been in that other environment and seeing stuff like that, how do you feel about open carry?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for that introduction. And yeah, great to have you here in the Czech Republic. We're going to have a great time. You guys are going to see a lot of content of what the guys are doing there at the back and a lot of different weapon systems that are here in the Czech Republic. Let's talk about open carry. In Israel, open carry, especially with security forces, is very common. For many reasons. It's just, first of all, it's legal all over Israel to open carry. Gun laws are not so easy in Israel, but once you do have a handgun, you are allowed to open carry. Now, why do people open carry? It's a little bit of a deterrence. When people do see a gun in Israel, they don't get frightened because Israel is a small country and there's security forces pretty much everywhere. It's not, you have security checkpoints, but there's a lot of security, soldiers going home on leave, police officers, border guards, and so on. So when somebody opens carry, it's not like in the United States, this guy is, pushing this gun thing a little bit too much on me when I'm in line in the supermarket.
So culturally dependent is a big deal here.
Definitely. And there are advantages of open carrying. I mean, the firearm is really, really present. It's there. It's you have that faster reaction, especially like in the US where you have around the chamber. There are disadvantages of it because you are giving up the element of surprise. If there is a robbery and they see you, you're going to be the first guy taken out. Or there's going to be a gun grab. There's a lot of criminals, whether it's where you live or somewhere else. They're going to try to grab your gun because your gun is expensive.
That has a lot to do with holster, right?
Correct.
You're being a guy that sells holsters and high-end holsters.
Different kinds of holsters.
So if you are dead set on open carrying,
right,
you'd probably want some kind of retention on your holster.
You do. And first of all, the first rule of open carry, you got to be aware of your surroundings. There's no way that you're standing in line in the supermarket with an open carry and you're not looking behind and the front to see. You always got to check your surroundings because that guy can snatch your gun in a moment's notice. If you do open carry and you want a little bit more retention, but again, there's pros and cons with that as well. So you can have a trigger retention, a good trigger retention, that when you pull the gun out, you're not anywhere close to the trigger, or you have thumb retention. But then again, when adrenaline's pumping and shots get fired, you're going to forget that right, left, and center. So having that extra safety, you're going to pull the holster out with your gun if you're not trained. So another thing is go and train as much as possible with your everyday carry kit. If it's a holster that you have with a level 2 retention, go and train with it again and again. There's nothing better than training when it comes to these kinds of real life situations.
I do like the thumb drive option on holsters. They've got I guess for like a police officer, there's certain people that have to open carry.
Right.
So like if you're a police officer, and a lot of times you'll see, I'm sitting here and literally just out of habit, having a gun on and having it be open right now. I'm resting my arm right here on my gun protecting my gun from in a gun grab, but I look like I'm in a natural position just talking to you. It's just literally just a habit. If I have a gun on my waist, I can, that's one thing I can do. Now I don't have to worry about. And like Yob said, I've got some Phobos holsters that I've got from his website, and I'm a Glock guy. So we're talking zero safety on the gun, round in the chamber, and a holster that's just a holster, paddle holster that I'm right there. So that speed, like he mentioned, is great. I mean, a lot to consider, but I want to super agree with you on the training thing. I think training is by far the most crucial thing you can do. One of the interesting things I saw today was how a lot of Israeli training methods will promote carrying the firearm without a round in the chamber. And then, I mean, if you're carrying without a round in your chamber, then obviously you need to train and incorporate into your training racking the slide. So today I'm learning a new technique for me. I've seen it done, but I've never practiced it, which is where you bring the elbow up high, and then like a hand forward grip here, you kind of push out, and then everything, and it actually is pretty smooth once you run it a few times. It's interesting. I'm sure
it's a lot of training.
It's
a lot of training for it to work during a high stress situation when the shooting starts right in front of you. So it's a controversial thing that Israelis do, is not having a round in the chamber, and a lot of Americans actually think it's outrageous. And it does. I do understand it. I do understand why. On the other hand, in Israel, you have a lot of young guys being drafted into the military. I mean, it's just waves because it's mandatory. And when you have 18-year-olds, that think guns are cool, and it's so many of them all the time. So it's another form of controlling, the safety of people around you, whether it's on the base or whether you're on the train. In Israel, you'd carry a long rifle. If you're in an infantry unit, you'd carry a Tavor.
So are the long rifles also no round in chamber?
No. They even a magazine inside would be,
pushing it. Okay.
So what they do is they have like a magazine inside, and they have this red safety thing inside. So once they cock the rifle, that safety thing flies out, but they already have a magazine inside. So again, it's just because of negligent discharge that they're afraid of, because you have a lot of young people always joining the military, coming out, new guys joining in. And if you're going to be open carrying, you got to train with it, and you got to be aware of your surroundings.
More aware of your surroundings.
Aware of your surroundings. And if somebody even train that somebody's going to try to grab your gun, they're going to come from behind. They're going to, some of them, if they're smart, and it's not rocket science, they might even recognize what kind of safety you have on the holster.
Oh yeah.
Again,
the
bad guy would have adrenaline. Yeah, you could. It's easily. So what they do in Israel, like when you see a police officer, he'll have a level
leash.
2. He'll have a level 2 holster. It means he has passive retention for the screw, and he has a button or a thumb release or whatever to release the firearm. And another thing he's going to have a cord attached from his gun to his pants. So in case somebody tries to run with his gun, he's going to, yank his pants, and he could wrestle him. So it's really a game. Like, on one hand, in Israel, they do want you to open carry because it's a deterrent and it's faster. And on the other hand, they got all these security measures on top of you that you're going to screw up once the shit hits the fan.
Absolutely.
So the basic thing is just train, train as much as possible in high stress situations.
I think what Yav said really hit home for me, being a martial artist, and I love training martial arts, and really one of the great things about Krav Maga is that I believe it's basically just general martial arts is the term.
Yeah, it's just street fighting.
And
basic street fighting.
What's awesome about it is in America, there's these BJJ guys, and it's just crazy to me that you want to take all of your training and focus on the part that's after you're on the ground, because you don't start on the ground. You never want to be on the ground.
Right.
And in the real world, that's the worst case scenario for you to be on the ground. Krav Maga teaches you stuff on the ground, but it also stresses the importance of not going to the ground. And I think BJJ, when you train BJJ and you take out that striking aspect, you're doing yourself so much damage, especially if you're talking about open carry. Okay, so if a guy's going to come up and try and pull my gun and I'm open carrying, my first thing is obviously I'm going to be here. I'm going to go to a defensive position. I'm going to be striking to get this guy to loosen up a little bit, because if he's got his hand tight and I got my hand tight, okay, well, give him a couple, nice hits. He's going to loosen up. And you can get your gun back and do what you need to do. Imagine that you try to go to the ground and he's with 3 people or he's with 2 people. How many guys are going to see somebody open carrying and go and try and attack them one-on-one? It's if they have buddies, they're all going to come at you. You go to the ground, you can be the greatest BJJ fighter in the world. You can have that guy in a triple, triangle, quadruple, whatever, choke you, you know, however, completely immobilized. And while you have him tied up, you're tied up. And his buddy just comes and kicks your head in, right? Then he's released because you just had him in a hold, and they leave with your gun and you're dead. So, I mean, I think there's so much to consider, and Yav brought up a lot of the good points of why open carry can be really, there's some positives, right? Military guys, I guess my 2 cents about that is, I think if you're security, military, there's that hard target, right? Gray man versus hard target. Guys, check out my video on that. I've got a full series on the gray man. But, you know, in order to not draw a lot of attention to yourself, I think it's kind of impossible to go around with a gun and not draw attention to yourself. So if you are drawing attention, you want to make sure that you're a hard enough target that nobody really wants to mess with you. And I think Israel, they do a really good job with that, because we've got, you know, friends like Double Tapper, who goes around, you know, he's a good example of an open carry guy. And
yeah, he's got a lot of gear.
He's got a lot of gear, but I think he really presents himself as a hard target, but that's his only option, right? Because at that point, when you've got your gun and your gear and all your mags and everything, you know, he has to be
like, they have this doctrine in Israel, like we've had a history of terrorist attacks. Unfortunately, we still do. And even while we're on the subject, I'm thinking about it. One of the last terrorist attacks was they came in with these primitive pistols. They shot 2 border guards and took their long rifles, which were M4s, and they started blasting all over the place. Luckily, there were guys from the Israeli, which would be Shabak equivalent of FBI. They were having lunch, they were having dinner just a block away. They took them out in a matter of no time. Again, training, you know, somebody that knows how to train with a firearm in front of somebody that sort of trained out in the fields for a couple of days. It's no match. It's going to be one-sided, and they took them out real fast. But when we have these terrorist attacks, and we have this doctrine in Israel that there really is some sort of deterrent. Like, you'll see in the train station, not only is he going to have the pistol out in an open carry, you're going to have the security guard. He's going to be in front, sort of checking the people. He's not really checking IDs, but he's there as a deterrent. And he's going to not only have his firearm in open carry position, many times he's going to have his firearm in like a conversion kit. So it looks like it's a long rifle or a machine gun or submachine gun or whatever. The person on the other side, which is, you know, a 21-year-old that's going to press a button and is scared, he sees that, and he's like a shield, and is shielding the train station, shielding the people inside, trying to minimize casualties in case the shit hits the fan and, you know, you got a suicide bomber, God forbid, or you have an active shooter. So putting yourself out there, sometimes you're basically the shield. You're putting yourself as a target, but that's the idea.
Yeah.
It'd rather, you know, he goes instead of everybody else in the building goes.
So he's basically making a conscious decision to put himself
when he's doing the job, like a bodyguard. A bodyguard, sort of like the bodyguard.
So I guess if we're talking about open carrying, you got to take that into account.
Correct. And you said something right. Like, when you're open carrying, don't only train when somebody grabs your firearm, but you gotta train to be physical. You got to be physically fit. Maybe do Krav Maga, do martial arts, do one of those. So if something happens, you know, you will be stronger, and you'll put a lot of violence on that person that's trying to grab your gun.
Because it's a responsibility too, right?
Correct.
I mean, having a firearm.
Correct. It's a responsibility. People don't realize that.
Yep. I think that's
a big responsibility.
I think we've pretty concisely covered open carry, and now our followers and supporters are going to have to make your own decision.
Correct.
Whether you think it's correct or not, whether you think it's right or not to open carry. What I want to say is, please take into full consideration, really, that it's a big responsibility. So you don't put others around you at undue risk just because you feel like it's cool to have a gun. That's not the right way to do it. And make sure that you're getting the training. All right. We're going to be putting up a lot of videos. Thank you, Yav, for helping us make these videos. You can hear him training back there. And this is, it's great for me. I love being able to do this stuff, and I love being able to share, information like this. That's really difficult. Not a lot of guys that know this stuff want to share it, and then, we're some of the few guys that are really doing the hardcore, sharing the facts and the truth, and really trying to help out for a stronger community, a 2A community in the U.S. is what we'll call it. I'll leave you with, definitely check out Yav's website. He's got some cool stuff on there. And we're supporting. I guess we got some sponsored gear. We could say Bone Tactical shirts. You got your belt, right?
Correct. We got the sponsors at this range here in Czech Republic, and the people that I represent in Israel is definitely Israeli Weapons Industries,
IWI.
IWI, that produce the X95. We have an X95 here, so stay tuned with that. A suppressed X95, the shortest version actually, which is cool. We got the Masada handgun. We got the Jericho handgun. Meprolite, which is a sister company of IWI, of course, all their optics.
Great optics.
Phobos holsters, and the Bone Tactical gear that we're here with. We appreciate you coming, and let's get the maximum out of it. Let's go shooting.
Let's do it. Thanks for watching. Bone out.